So recently we were learning how to use the distributive property in order to multiply variables and constants in order to create new expressions. This time I'm going to show you how to use the distributive property to multiply two binomials. Binomial refers to expressions that have two terms. So how can I use this distributive property to help me determine how to multiply these two things together? First thing I will do is I will take apart the first binomial, and I'm going to rewrite it as x times my second binomial, x plus 2. Now, I can't forget that I also have this positive 3 here. Yes, I can think of plus 3 and positive 3 as similar elements. So I will have to include that, but I will make it sort of a separate expression. So I'm going to add my 3 and also multiply that with the x plus 2. Now, when I do this and I use the distributive property, remember that when I distribute, I must multiply each of the terms on the outside with each of the terms on the inside. So, I will start by multiplying x by x, which I've learned previously is x squared. I will then distribute the x to the positive 2, which I know will give me positive 2x. There's my first expression once I've used distributive property. Now, I must also, I notice, distribute the 3 to each of the items in this set of parentheses. So if I multiply 3 by x, or in this case, positive 3 by x, I have positive 3x. If I then multiply positive 3 by positive 2, I then have a positive 6. But wait, am I quite finished yet? Something else I may have learned before tells me if I have two terms that are similar, what we call like terms, I must remember to combine them if I can. In this case, I have a positive 2x and a positive 3x. If I combine my 2x and my 3x, just by adding, because they are like terms, I would get a total of x squared plus 5x, notice that these two things were added together, plus the 6. And that is multiplying two binomials using the distributive property. Recently, we were learning how to use distributive property in order to multiply single terms or monomials by multiple term expressions such as polynomials. This time I'd like to teach you how to use a most interesting method for multiplying two binomials together. I have seen that students tend to forget when to multiply things together. Since we're using the distributive property, we want to make sure that we make all possible combinations happen before we give our final answer. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Foil. What is Mr. Foil? Well, the term FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, and last. And that's the order in which we're going to multiply each of these terms together in order to result in a final polynomial. So, let's start with first. Mr. Foil begins by multiplying x by x. Well, x times x happens to give us x squared. And outer refers to which two terms are the furthest apart from each other, also considered the outsides of this multiplication. That would be our x times positive 2x. If we multiply those two things together, we get plus 2x. Now, if we move forward and we then multiply the inner, the I term. Inner refers to the two terms that are on the inside of the multiplication. So I have a positive 3 and an x. If I multiply those two things together, I get a positive 3x. Next, I have one more combination I have to combine. I have last. I have positive 3 and positive 2. Now, if you look carefully, you see we actually have created a little bit of a face. Notice that Mr. Foil's eyes are represented by the first and the last combination, And the outer and inner combinations are the combination of the other two multiplications, our x times positive 2 and positive 3 times x. Notice the face of Mr. Foyle. Now, our final term here, when we multiplied 3 by 2, gave us a positive 6, because both numbers were positive. So once we do that, we have to make sure that whenever we have any expressions, that we always combine any like terms if there should be any. In this case, I notice that I have a positive 2x and a positive 3x. When combined, give me a total of 5x. But that's not my total answer. My final answer will be x squared plus my 5x, it happens to be positive, plus my 6. So, in using Mr. Foyle and creating this face, we have our two eyes, our nose, and what looks like a mouth for Mr. Foyle, indicating our first, outer, inner, and last. Our final expression, you'll notice, went from being two binomials multiplied together to a trinomial, polynomial with exactly 3 terms.